but the vlog doesn't end until I stop rolling doubles. I'm hungover, so only like one of my 3 brain cells is firing right now. It weighs so much. So it's like fan servicey, but I mean, I'm a fan and I'm feeling serviced. Things are happening, but it's not like a Henry the Hoover kind of situation, you know? This could be my longest vlog ever. Happy New Year, guys. I hope you had a fabulous start to your year and also a fabulous start to your 2023 reading, which I'm hoping that I'm also going to have. So I posted a TBR, a January TBR, which I wasn't going to post, but I'm too much of a type A personality to be able to not do that when I always post a TBR. So it was just a regular TBR. It just had like Patreon picks, book club reads, books for a Goldsboro vlog that I may or may not have time to actually make, but it wasn't a Bookopoly TBR. And I've received a couple of questions on that video that I have not answered about Bookopoly, like am I not doing Bookopoly in 2023? And I guess the easy answer is I don't know, because I think after having discussed burnout recently, I think my approach for 2023 is going to be less structured. So we're still going to have a schedule, we're still going to upload 2 to 3 times per week depending on how much content we have going on, but I'm not going to post a vlog every week because I post a vlog every week, you know? If one vlog takes me 2 weeks and one vlog takes me a week and the next one takes me 3 weeks, so be it. Instead of thinking in 3 weeks I'm going to do the next installment of the Goldsboro vlog, we'll play it by ear and we'll see where we're at in 3 weeks. And if we want to do a Goldsboro vlog, then we will. If we don't, then we won't. And that leads me to less disappointment and feeling like less of a failure. So when we come to the question, am I going to be doing Bookopoly TBRs in 2023? I really don't know. But what I do know is that I'm not doing a Bookopoly TBR for January and February because we're making this vlog instead. I have been talking for years about how I want to do a vlog where I roll as I go. I want to spend a week rolling as I go, where I mood read because I get the prompt and then I have to pick the book then and there. So then I was thinking about my new approach to content in 2023, and I thought, how about instead of doing that, how about instead of rolling as I go for a week, I roll the same amount of books as I would if I was making a TBR, and it's a vlog, but the vlog doesn't end until I stop rolling doubles. So this vlog, it could take me, I don't think it's going to take me less than a week, but it could take me a week, could take me 2 weeks, it could take me the entirety of January. I know that I'm going to be reading 5 books, but am I going to be reading 6, 7, 8? I think this vlog is going to be at least 45 minutes, but it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours. I have no idea right now because this vlog ends when the round of Bookopoly ends. So if you are familiar with Bookopoly as a TBR game, the rules are all still pretty much the same. I'm going to be starting with 5 rolls. That will be my aim. We're going to be rolling 1 by 1 though, which is the point of it being a vlog. Instead of rolling 5 at the beginning, we'll roll 1 by 1, but every time we roll a double, we'll add an extra roll. So we could get no doubles and I could just read 5 books, or this could go on for a while. So that being said, let's get into our first roll and find out what my first book of 2023 is going to be. Okay, so I feel like you can tell how I'm like business up top and party down below today, but we don't have a new board for 2023 because I barely used this one in 2022 with switching to bi-monthly Bookopoly instead of doing it every single month. So there are a couple of squares on here that need updating, like this says 2022 TBR, which will automatically default to 2023, but because it's not a new board, we are going to be starting where we left off, which was on other, and wish me luck because I'm not sure how I feel about these squares coming up. 3, which is nice and simple because that is a fantasy. So fantasy was a very good prompt to get. It's easy for me, like the majority of the books that I own are fantasy, but we do have a couple of things that we need to consider here. The first is that I have a pretty substantial January TBR with 2 fantasy books on it. The second, I guess, is that because I'm co-hosting a Wheel of Time read along, I'm also currently reading The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, but if I put this on as my fantasy pick, I could technically roll again to read a book alongside it because I don't think I'm going to plow through this and read nothing else at the same time because I want to focus on this and I'm tabbing it. But the third, and I guess the most important and relevant one right now, is that I'm doing a 24-hour thing with Aaron from Booked and Busy, where for the first of the month we can only read books by authors that we've previously given 5 stars to. So that narrows things down quite a bit. It means that I can't read anything off my January TBR, and it also means that I can't read Eye of the World unless I did a separate vlog, which I don't really want to do. I've gone off 24-hour vlogs because I'd rather do like a nice long beefy vlog, you know? So we're doubling up. Anything that I roll for Bookopoly during the 24 hours of this readathon, which might only be this roll, but I have to pick a book by an author that I've previously given 5 stars to. So with that in mind, I've narrowed it down to just 2 options. It's actually New Year's Eve on the day that I'm filming this. This vlog was supposed to start tomorrow on New Year's Day, you know, new year, new vlog, but I'm actually hosting a New Year's Eve party tonight. So I thought that while I'm put together, while I've been filming, while I'm in a present state of mind, I will do the first roll so that I have an option of a book, because I'm not a big drinker anymore, guys. I don't intend to get drunk tonight, but I'm also not responsible for any of the decisions that I make later. Bearing that in mind, I don't know how I'm gonna feel tomorrow. I could feel great, I could really not. So I'm giving myself 2 options. The one that I'm gonna go with if I feel good is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which is a book that I've been desperate to read since I picked this up from Toppings when I went to Edinburgh in, I think, March. So I actually read House in the Cerulean Sea about a year ago. I think I read it at the end of January last year, and I think I haven't made my end of year list yet, but I think it's going to be in my best books of the year. So I picked up Under the Whispering Door when I found a signed first edition at Toppings, and this is one of TJ Klune's like really wholesome standalones. This one being, I don't think it's quite as well received as House Under the Cerulean Sea. I think it's still good, it's just people think House in the Cerulean Sea is better. But this one I think is about I'm assuming he's a grumpy old man, or like a grumpy, unpleasant man to be around. I think he dies, and I'm pretty sure that nobody turns up to his funeral. But this guy doesn't believe he's dead, and the Reaper comes to collect him and help him pass over, and the main character is outraged. So eventually this tea shop owner agrees to help him pass over, and while the main character is spending time with this tea shop owner in this tea shop, he comes to accept his own death. And just based on the fact that nobody really comes to his funeral, I feel like he wasn't the nicest guy, and he, I don't know, like comes to change himself for the better in death. I'm expecting good things from it. I picked it up because it's TJ Klune, which is why I'm not 100% on the synopsis, but this is definitely like my dominant option, the one that I most want to read, and the one that's most likely to once again receive a 5-star rating from me. But just in case I'm hanging out my arse, I also have Children of the Whales Volume 9 by Abby Umeda. I think I've given a couple of volumes of this manga 5 stars, and it is a young adult, or like older teen is what it's rated as, fantasy manga that is set on this floating island, and everybody who is on this island has always lived there, so they don't know that there's a world outside, but eventually they do stumble across another human and realize that the world is wider than they ever thought it was, which causes them to unearth some truths about their community and why they're actually isolated on this floating island on the sea of sand. It's a very long manga series. I'm not sure if series this long are for me, just because I kind of like lose interest a little bit when we go through the slower volumes, but obviously like I can definitely get through this tomorrow, and this will have me up to date with all of the volumes that I own. This goes up to at least volume 17 now. This is volume 9, but this is the last of the volumes that I own. So I'm gonna leave you here until tomorrow. I'm not vlogging the party because nobody needs to see that messiness, and we will reconvene tomorrow when I've decided which of these 2 I'm actually going to end up going with. So it's 5 p.m. now, and I can confirm that it has been a day. This is not the energy that I wanted to be bringing into 2023, but because of my shaky start to the morning, I have decided that the readathon is going to start at 5 p.m. for me, and it's going to run for 24 hours until 5 p.m. tomorrow. I know that I'm not going to be reading the entire time. 1, because I'm going to sleep. I need to sleep. I bet I'll be in bed early tonight. And 2, because if I want to stay on top of my video schedule, then I do have to edit my wrap up tomorrow, but fortunately like it's not a very long one, so it shouldn't take like a massive chunk of my day. But because of my delicate state, I have decided that I'm going to be kicking off with Children of the Whales Volume 9 by Abby Umeda, although to be quite honest, it was Aaron who picked this for me. I asked her to decide because there's merits to both of them. This will definitely be more gentle on my fragile brain right now, and also if I go with this one, then I'll get to roll again. And also because like we have no idea how long this vlog's going to be, it's probably a good idea to start with something a little bit shorter, especially in the context of like a 24-hour reading vlog. But the TJ Klune book, probably, like if I was betting on it, I would bet that I would rate that higher than I would rate this, just because my ratings for this entire series have been between 3 and 5 stars, whereas the only TJ Klune book I've read is 5 stars. But then if I went with Under the Whispering Door, I probably due to my state of mind, would not be able to get it done in the 24 hours, and I'm committing to like just reading that one thing instead of seeing if we can get like, I don't know, at least 2 things read during this time period. And it doesn't matter if I don't finish within the 24 hours. It's more about the selection process for me, which goes for this entire vlog, really. It's more about being excited about selecting things and like reading in a more like mood ready kind of way, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna go crack on with this. Curtis and I have kind of just been laid out on the sofa for most of the day, and we've just watched Jurassic Park, was just on in the background while I was proofing the last like 30 minutes of last week's vlog. So I pretty much just want to carry on the rest of my day with that same energy, but with a book in my hand at the same time.
You know I love you, and I know you love me. So why keep doing this to both of us? You know you're mine. You got me so bad, wrapped around your finger. I've still got your taste in my mouth.
So I managed to finish Children of the Whales Volume 9, which is actually, I'm real proud of myself, because when I said Jurassic Park was on earlier, it's actually all 3 movies that are on back to back. So Jurassic Park 3 is currently on in there, and you guys know that I'm desperate to get back to that. But I have been kind of, because obviously I've seen them millions of times, I love those movies. So I was like reading and kind of watching at the same time. I also am very proud of myself, considering I'm currently at the stage in my hangover where I'm starting to sweat. I'm a little bit shaky and nauseous, and I could really do with sleep, but I'm also like, I know that I can't get in bed tonight until I've washed because I feel disgusting. So I think whatever book I end up picking up next, I'm gonna try and read in the bath maybe. But I did finish volume 9 and I gave it 4 stars. It's not necessarily one of my favorite installments in this series, but I have noticed that I tend to give like filler volumes tend to get a 3-star from me. Anything that's pushing the plot comes around like a 4-star, and then we have a couple of exceptional volumes that obviously get 5. So I can't really tell you too much about this because the place where the story is at now is so different from where it started off. But essentially these citizens of the Mud Whale, they just find out that the world is wider than they thought it was going to be, and there's a lot of like harsh awakenings that come along with that as they realize the reality of their situation, and also a lot of difficulties that they need to face, which are like so far outside the realms of anything that they thought they ever would have to face. I will say that this is a lot more bloody and violent than I anticipated it would be, because I picked this up, like the thing that drew me to this in 2019 when I started reading it was how gorgeous the art style is, and I was expecting something I guess a little bit Ghibli-esque, but this is definitely more violent and brutal than that, which was kind of, I don't want to say a nice surprise, but the level of complexity in this series is so much more than I thought it was going to be when I picked it up because of the pretty art style. I will say that something that maybe, I don't want to say it impacts my enjoyment, but I have never read a graphic series that has a story that is as complex as this one, and also that is as expansive as this one, because this is volume 9, and like I said, I know they're up to at least volume 17, and I have not looked into this series, so I don't know like where the author Abiyumida intends to actually end it. So I feel like there's, I guess, kind of like teething issues, as this is the first story of this kind of scope in this format that I've ever read. I have been thinking recently about whether I should pick up some of the larger manga series, but based on how I feel about things like long paranormal series where they feel a little bit episodic, I'm not sure if like really big expansive manga series are for me. I feel like I prefer things to be a little bit smaller, just because I feel like I read these so quickly. It took me a few hours to read this, so it's not like I'm flying through it, but because it takes me a shorter amount of time to read these as it would to read a typical book, I feel like I don't retain the information as well. And so unless I'm binging through volumes, I feel like the story is not as impactful as it could be if I was reading these like closer together. But you know, manga is not the cheapest thing, is it? So I don't want to first go out and pay for it, but then also devour like 17 volumes of a series. And then of course, like if we're talking about more expansive things like Fairy Tail, One Piece, all of that kind of stuff, obviously like there's hundreds of volumes in those. So that is book 1 down for this vlog in general, and also for mine and Aaron's 24-hour readathon. So I guess we need to get the board out and pick a second prompt. Okay, so the lighting is not going to be the best, but we landed on this fantasy space last, and roll number 2, 7. which is a sequel. So that one took me a hot sec because I had a few options. One of them was a book on my TBR, which is Death by Laura Thalassa. I haven't given any of the books in this series 5 stars, but I've given at least one of the books in the Bargainer series 5 stars. And this would be handy because it is my Patreon book club pick for January. Could knock it out early in the month. But I am making a series of book diaries on this series, and at this point I haven't started editing the one for Famine, so I don't want to start filming the one for Death because I like to keep them up to date, so like I'm not repeating myself and I'm following on from kind of the last thing I said, or just so that I know where I'm at essentially. And actually it's not been that long since I read Famine. I want to leave a little bit more of a gap because I didn't like Famine all that much. Another option was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This one was very, very tempting. I haven't heard very good things about It Starts With Us, and literally any single bookshop I go into, they have 10,000 copies of it and it's half price. But I have given more than one Colleen Hoover book 5 stars, but especially It Ends With Us. So this was one of my hyped releases. I just didn't get around to reading it in 2022, and oh my god, it's 2023. But I keep saying that I'm not in the mood for romance and then picking up romance, so I didn't want to do that this time. And because of that, I've decided that I'm going to be going with The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This one was a gift from Tasmin, so thank you very much to Tasmin for gifting this one to me. And this one is a sequel. It is the 4th book in the Wayfarer series, but the Wayfarer series is a series of standalones that have like interconnecting characters, like main characters from other books might be mentioned in this. I describe this series as like a sci-fi series for contemporary readers. I don't know what this one is about in particular. I just bought it because I like all of the other books in the series. I think I gave 2 of them 5 stars. And the first one is about a crew that I can't remember what their official job title is, but they have this ship and they punch holes in space to make like faster transportation. There's a name for it, but like I'm hungover, so only like one of my 3 brain cells is firing right now. But they are offered the job of a lifetime to create like this faster space travel thing where like a new planet, I think, is being colonized, or like it's entering into peace agreement with the rest of the galaxy. So as it's the job of the lifetime, this crew take them up on their offer, and it's actually more about the crew and their relationship amongst themselves as they're traveling to perform this job than it is like about any kind of plot. So Becky Chambers books deal a lot with contemporary issues, things like sexuality, gender, race, or like species in a sci-fi setting. And what I really love about this is that she frames scenarios and creates her universe in a way where it makes you question the way that we live and like societal norms of the time that we live in and the place that we live in, because of how like she frames things within her books. So I've been eager to get to this one for a while, and something that I also keep saying is that I really, really want to read more sci-fi and I just never pick it up. It's all fantasy or romance all of the time. I don't think I'm going to finish this in the 24 hours because Becky Chambers books are very like slow, character driven and thoughtfully written. So it's not a book that lends itself to being read in a 24-hour readathon situation, but I'm not really all that bothered about that, because the important thing is that because in this 24 hours I can only read books by authors that I've previously 5-starred, I've picked this up and prioritized it, because I know that if I'd have landed on sequel without that extra like criteria that I had to meet, this probably would not have been the one that I went with. So I think I'm gonna go and watch the end of Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park 2 is definitely my favorite of the 3, and I had such a good time watching that earlier. But I'm gonna go catch the end of Jurassic Park 3 and then maybe get a bath and then maybe go to bed.
You left me high and played on my heartstrings. I'd do anything to get you back to me. 'Cause baby, you're mine. I cross your heart, hope to die, sign your name in blood. Baby, you can't escape my psycho love.
So I'm gonna find a way to show this properly in, I think, my end of year starts video. But I just wanted to do the first unveiling for you guys here because I've just finished my genre blanket for 2022. I still have to weave in all of the ends, and I've literally just cut the balls off and not sorted any of that. Here we are. So I need to do all of that, but I've like cast it off. This is the beginning, this is the end, and I'll do it so that I'm holding the end, but I want to see how big it is. Oh my god, it weighs so much. Oh, it's huge. It's so big. Like, wow. And then in a vlog a couple of weeks ago, I showed you guys that I got my new yarn to start this year's blanket, and I wanted to mix it up a little bit this year and use a different stitch. So with the colours from last year's blanket, I've just done a little bit of a test swatch, just because when you're working with knitting, single row stripes don't always look very good because it just won't look very nice on both sides if you're doing single rows. So I wanted to do a test, and I think, because I was using 25mm needles for the last one, and I think I want to do one with a little bit of a tighter knit. So I think I'm going to order myself a 12mm round needle, because I was practicing some seed stitch. So I did the bottom bits here as though just like one of every colour. And then when we get up to this point here, I did like the last 5 books that I've read. So it was a fantasy, 2 romances, 2 fantasy romance, and a sci-fi, and I actually really like this, so I'm gonna order myself a smaller round needle. I might actually try, I have a 15mm round needle. I don't think it's long enough actually, because I could see how this looked on a 15mm needle, because I already have a 15mm round. But yeah, we're going with seed stitch anyway, because I'm really liking how this is turning out, and I'm liking the tighter weave as well. Straighten this. I really do hate that light shade, and you guys know I've had it a long time. Still not liking it anymore. Still have not bothered to get rid of it. But I'm feeling a little bit on edge today, I can't lie, which is really inconvenient because I have to film a couple of videos. But I spent my morning doing yoga. I did a bit of a back release, and I also did some like hip flexibility, because it's been a long time since I've had yoga in my regular routine, and I wanted to add it back in a little bit because it really does, like, I like flexibility yoga, not strength yoga or power yoga, but it really does feel good, like loosening up all those joints. So I started my day like that, and then I went to get my nails done. So my UK 1975 girlies, I know you know that it's 1975 season, and you guys who aren't 1975 girlies, you might have to be soon, because you really are going to find out how much it is 1975 season. Maybe in this vlog, maybe not, who knows, because we have no idea when this vlog is going to end. But after that, I went and dropped my car off for its MOT, and I've had that car for 7 years, and it very much falls into a pattern of 1 year it passes, the next it fails, then it passes, then it fails, and we are in a fail year this year. So it's been in for 2 hours, and I keep checking, you know, the government website where you can check like the MOT history of a car. I keep checking to see if they've updated it, and they haven't yet. But until I find out whether they have, I'm going to continue to be on edge, which is really inconvenient, because I want to film videos, but I don't feel like I can settle into filming like a proper video until I at least know what's going on, because I might end up having to go to my dad's if it fails, because today's the last day on its MOT. It's just the COVID extension that they did where you got an extra 6 months to MOT your car during the pandemic. It just really did not do me any favors, because now my MOT is due right at the beginning of the year, and it's just an inconvenient time, obviously, with bank holidays and people being shut for Christmas, not at work for Christmas. So we'll see what happens, but I'm nervous about it, because it's 1975 season. I need my car, and also like car repairs are a boring thing to spend money on. I don't want to have to do that. So I have been reading, not very much, because Curtis has gone back to work today. So we spent his last couple of days off work I just prioritized what he wanted to do, because I have more time before I get back into candles. But I am 207 pages into The Galaxy and the Ground Within, and I am really enjoying this. Becky Chambers is the queen of cozy sci-fi. There is not necessarily any plot in any of her books, or at least any of the Wayfarer series especially. It's no plot, all vibes, essentially. So the plot of this, the what plot we have, is that we are at this kind of pit stop that ships stop at while they're waiting for their place in the wormhole queues to travel to other places. So it's like an in-between place. It's kind of like a trading post. And this book is about the person who runs one of these pit stops, her child, and the 3 people who are parked up at this pit stop when there's like this big technological accident where all of the satellites like crash together and debris starts raining out of the sky, which sounds super dramatic, but it's kind of like in the grand scheme of things and in like terms of danger level, it's not especially dramatic, but nothing can happen until they sort this situation out. So nobody can travel anywhere, no messages can be sent, and everything's at a standstill. It's like the sci-fi equivalent of being in the middle of a snowstorm. This book is just about the personal stories of the three people who are at this pit stop with the person who runs it, her child, and kind of like they're all from different alien species, so their dynamic when they come together, like sharing bits of their culture. One of them is from a species of alien that's very much been made to feel unwelcome within the galaxy. There's a guy who's been exiled from his community, and he's actually on his way to an important appointment regarding that exile, and one of them is in love with somebody from a different species, which is very much frowned upon within her species. Becky Chambers books to me are very much like a warm hug. I would much rather read a book like this that has very little plot than a book that's fast-paced and has too much plot, because this just feels good. So it's all a good time. I would say that it's probably not a 5-star for me right now. It's feeling more like a 4, but I just already, just with doing this vlog, and like I've said to you guys, like, oh, I could pick up a book off my TBR, but I actually want to read this, and then going for the one that I actually want to read. I feel like it's just been such a long time where I've prioritized what I want to do and instead done what I feel like I should do. I'm really having a good time like doing what I want to do, essentially picking up this instead of something that I felt like I should read. It just feels really good, and I'm hoping this is the energy that I want to bring into 2023. So providing my car either passes its MOT or fails, but I can sort out some, essentially when I know if it's passed or failed, hopefully I'll start to feel a little bit less on edge. And if that is the case, then I think I might do Patreon sprints tonight while my workout for the day is already out of the way and I've got makeup on for filming. I don't know if I should do my hair because it was looking all right, but I'm like feeling, are we kind of flat? Because this is just like a wash and an air dry situation. So yeah, maybe we'll do sprints tonight. If I do, I think I'll definitely be finishing this because I only have 120 pages left. So I just finished filming my worst books of the year, and as soon as I was done, I checked my MOT online and she's passed. So all of that anxiety was for absolutely nothing, that is anxiety. It's pointless, serves no purpose, but that doesn't make it any better when it shows up. But I'm gonna go and pick her up now. There will probably be sprints tonight, but I would also like to film one more video before I'm done for the day. It's dark. I got a late start to the day. I normally film like first thing in the morning, so I'm really reluctant to continue, but it would be helpful because I do want to get a jump on my video schedule. It would be helpful if I could do just one more. Good morning. I did not actually get to finish my book last night because we kept rolling doubles during sprints, so I was switching between two. But this morning I did read the last 25 pages of The Galaxy and The Ground Within, and I really enjoyed it. I'm just generally having a good time mood reading. I know it's only been like 2 books, but it still feels good, you know. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did look at the ratings of like past Becky Chambers books when I was putting this into my spreadsheet, and I gave the first 2 books in this series 5 and then the latter 2 books 4. In terms of like, these books are, like I've said, not much plot, plenty of vibes, and I feel like in terms of that, this is even less plotty than a couple of earlier books in the series, because it's literally just these 3 characters isolated together, learning about each other's customs and cultures, and also sharing insight and making, I guess, the other characters around them look at things in a different way by adding this perspective from like outside of their customs and cultures. The thing about these books is that even though we're talking about aliens, we're actually talking about humanity, and there were things in here that were touched upon a little bit more than other topics. Like reproductive rights was a big one in here, I guess otherism as well, and also it reminded me of what happens when you get a group of people together and they get into a debate throughout some of this, because we had like different opinions on like certain wars in the galaxy as well. I think if you're a fan of like the House in the Cerulean Sea, potentially Legends and Lattes as well, which I haven't read yet, then the Wayfarer series may be something that you really enjoy, because like it definitely feels very similar. Like Becky Chambers puts me in the same place as like House in the Cerulean Sea does, and I didn't know that I was a cozy girly. Like I didn't think that cozy books would be for me, but I feel feel like when you have this cozy atmosphere with like a speculative or a fantastical twist, it's actually something that I can really get behind. So 4 stars for this one. And also a big thank you to Tasman for gifting this one to me. So my plan for the day is to edit as many videos as possible. It's 10:30. I'm gonna make myself a smoothie because I need to get back on my protein smoothie shit and get on with some editing. But before that, I need to pick my next book and I'm very excited. Okay, so the last roll was sequel. Roll number 3 is a 6. Oh. That is a book from my 30 before 30 list. So I'm gonna look at this list with you guys because I made that video like a year ago now, so I don't remember very much that was on it. I'm actually dreading turning 30 because of this list. But I remember like 3 things that are on it, and I know 2 of them are series that I DNF'd, and one of them is like the entire works of Colleen Hoover, but I have no recollection of anything else. So let's look at this. Oh, hot damn. I did not remember that the 5th season was on here. I don't know what to do now because there's some stuff on here. There's 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. There's Battle Royale by Kushin Takami. There's Death Note. There's also Jane Eyre. I am actually going to take this. I really could get in. I don't think I could read Jane Eyre right now, along with like other stuff that I'm slowly reading alongside my min books. Same with 1Q84 and Battle Royale. I just don't know. There is other stuff on here, but nothing that like is jumping out at me. So I think we're gonna go with a Colleen Hoover. I think I'm gonna take this opportunity to read a book that I should have read last year, which I've already mentioned once in this video. And that book is It Starts With Us. I feel like I kind of had already made my mind up about this space because I realized that it was coming up and I was scared of it, but then I remembered that I had like this that was eligible for that. So I was kind of like keeping myself calm by saying like, well, if you land on 30 before 30, at least you can read It Starts With Us. So I felt like there wasn't really any other option. But this is the sequel to It Ends With Us. I'm dreading this. I haven't heard good things about this, and it's a sequel that nobody needed, but It Ends With Us is a contemporary story that's written like a romance about this girl whose father dies, and she goes up to the top of this building to like look at the view and also to contemplate things because she loved her father, but she also hated him because he used to abuse her mother, or did abuse her mother, which she witnessed as she was growing up. So while she's up there, she meets this guy who's a neurosurgeon, and they agree to have no string sex. But before they can like get into that, he gets called, like he has an emergency call from work come through to go perform emergency surgery. So they both go their separate ways, and then 6 months later they actually meet again. And then when Lily is moving, at some point in the book she stumbles across a box of her teenage diaries from when she was close to a homeless boy called Atlas Corrigan. So it like flip-flops between the teenage diaries and present day. Big content warnings, as I mentioned, for domestic abuse in here. It's not a romance, but it is written like a romance. You'll understand if you've read it, but this is the sequel from the perspective of a different character. I won't tell you who because I feel like that implies some things about the end of It Ends With Us, but I haven't heard good things about it. I've heard that there's some kids in here that really make the story. Definitely not a necessary sequel, but As It Ends With Us is one of my favorite books of all time. I knew that I had to pick it up and give it the benefit of the doubt. This is the Waterstones edition as well, so it's super pretty, but I feel like this book hasn't been a hit. Either that or they overestimated how much of a hit it was going to be, because I swear every single bookshop I walk into has towers of these things at half price. It's a shortish read. It'll be like 300-ish pages, 320, and the font is pretty huge.
And all the times you let me down, we'll get even somehow. We'll get by, either dead or alive. 'Cause baby, you're mine. Cross your heart, hope to die. Sign your name in blood.
Okay, you know what? I'm really going to expose myself here because I'm 68 pages into It Starts With Us and it's kind of shit. But I'm a simp for Atlas Corrigan, so I'm eating this up. Like, it's not good. I'm not. Like, I'm reading it and I'm like, this is just not conflict for the sake of conflict, but to make a story out of this. Because It Ends With Us was a standalone, right? So to make this into a story, it has to flesh out some things that never really needed to be fleshed out, to add more substance to the story story, but also to like make a story. Because while I'm saying it needs conflict, it's not necessarily conflict, but it's just something that is worth telling a story about. So I'm reading all of this like fully aware that Colleen Hoover is intentionally going back through It Ends With Us and adding shit wherever she can to it to make this book worthwhile. So it's not good, but damn, am I a simp for Atlas Corrigan. Like, this feels like reading what, oh my god, I need to read those books and I need to vlog it. Do you know how Meg Cabot wrote a follow-up to the Princess Diaries and the Mediator series where they're like adults? I still haven't read those books, so I need to do that, but I imagine that's what reading those feels like, because I've come over all unnecessary. I feel like a teenager. I mean, I read It Ends With Us, I think in like 2019, so I wasn't a teenager, but it was still like 4 years ago now. Colleen Hoover also, actually, before I forget, she did put at the beginning of this that she wrote this book because it blew up on TikTok and TikTok wanted her to write more. So it's like fan servicey to the extreme, but I mean, I'm a fan and I'm feeling serviced, so like, can we blame her? I'm currently exporting my best books for 2022 and doing a bit of reading while I wait so that I can set it to upload before I go work out, but this book is making me so angry. Like, I'm so invested. It's still not good. And like, it's introducing new stuff that's like, it's annoying me because you know when you have something that's perfect and then it's like the sanctity of the thing is ruined for the sake of added conflict. Like, that's what's happening here. But it's understandable why some characters are proven to be difficult in this book, but boy am I mad about it. Like, it's making me so angry. And then there's like other characters being introduced to flesh out the backstory of characters to once again make this book worthwhile. And I get it, I do, because even it makes sense, I guess, in terms of like the characters and their backstories and like even what happened in It Ends With Us. It makes sense that these things would be issues, but it's making me mad. Like, I just want the good stuff. Like, I just want the stuff that I'm enjoying. I'm still a simp for Atlas Corrigan, man. I feel like a 12-year-old reading this book, but I'm having such a good time with it. I'm actually hoping, because I'm 126 pages into it now and I've put like barely any effort into actually reading it, so I've got 200 pages to go. But Curtis has gone to his mum's for dinner and he's gone to, after that he's going to his dad's to watch football. So I'm thinking that I might just do Patreon sprints, because I know otherwise I'll just kind of float around the house not doing anything. Whereas if I make myself be here to read at 7, then I will be here and read at 7. So if that does happen, I mean, I always say I'm going to finish stuff in sprints and I don't, but it's not a slow read at all. It's super quick. I think that if the text in here was, I want to say normal size, this isn't overly large, but if the text was any smaller, this would be an extremely slim book. The thing that I love about Colleen Hoover as well, why I continue to go back to Colleen Hoover, is that there's crack in the pages. Like, I can devour these books. They're so addictive. Good morning, pals. So I need to stop saying that I'm going to finish things in sprints, because when I say that I'm going to finish a book, I always end up wrapping up the sprints with like 40 pages to go. So I did get through this really quick though. I finished It Starts With Us in bed last night, and you know, I really enjoyed this. It was definitely unnecessary. It was like, it didn't need to exist. And while I do like Colleen Hoover and I keep returning to Colleen Hoover, and I've given a bunch of Colleen Hoover books 5 stars because I think she is like an excellent, like, addictive writer, I have always had a problem with her overwriting things. There was a point in this that would have been an excellent example if I remembered it. She had a conversation with Atlas because they needed to be on the same page about Emerson, and it's like, you don't need to tell me that they need to be on the same page for Emerson. Like, you can just say that like she needed to talk to him, because like the fact that they needed to be on the same page is kind of implied. She also tends to overwrite when it comes to like character placement in scenes, to the point where like she writes their positions, like their physical positioning, so much that it takes me out of the scene a little bit, because like I'm trying to figure out like where exactly they're stood. And this was definitely not the best written book, even like that Colleen Hoover has written. As an extension of that overwriting, she was picking apart like little tiny moments of It Ends With Us to flesh them out into something that made this book worth it. Now, at the beginning of this, it does say that this is a lighter story because the characters deserve it, and I will say that there was a lot in here that made me really angry, in a good way, in a these characters aren't great people so they're making me angry kind of way. But I wouldn't necessarily, maybe lighter than It Ends With Us, but I wouldn't necessarily describe this as a lighter read. It made me particularly angry as well because I have experience dealing with a family member who is like the two arseholes in this book. The kind of person that you can't talk to and will never admit their own fault in anything. So that particularly infuriated me. But I did eat this up because I am a simp for Atlas Corrigan. I will admit it, I have no shame. But also, one of my favorite romance tropes, and it is like a massive cliche, like it's a basic bitch trope, which I also said about something in a video I've just filmed. What trope was that? It was another, oh, popular girl and misfit guy. I love that one as well. But the one that got away, and also childhood best friends to lovers, I eat that shit up. And this has an element of, I guess a little bit of both, but I just love that idea of somebody who meant a lot to you when you were younger, like reconnecting later in life in a different way, or like having a second chance. Like maybe you had a whirlwind summer romance when you were like 17, then you went and lived your separate lives, and then you come back together at 25. I love that trope. I adore it. Even though I don't think I have anybody who could even remotely be the one who got away, so it's not like that could ever be a reality for me. This book did not need to exist. Is it worth the read? Not really. Not really. I mean, you could do without it, but as a big fan of my boy Atlas Corrigan, I enjoyed it, so it was 4 stars. The thing that really annoyed me about this book is the way that everyone's fucking babying this grown-ass man throughout here. Like, I get why it's like a trauma thing, but oh my god, like he's the worst. Like, throw the man in prison, lock him away. Absolutely just cannot deal with that. And on that note, let's find out what we're reading next. So last prompt was 30 before 30. Roll number 4. Oh. 1, 2, 3. That is a viewer recommendation. Holy hell. Okay, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with this space on the board, every year I post a video. I've actually just posted within the last month, this year's round, or last year's I guess. But every year I post my entire own TBR, which is where I go through and just like say the name and title of every book I own that I haven't read. And I invite everybody in the comments of that video to comment books that they would like me to read in case I land on this space. And I use a random comment picker, and whatever comes up I have to read. Now you have options of how you do this. So you can either put like 1 book per comment, which means that I will be forced to read whatever book is in that comment, or you can put a list of a few, or just like dump a ton in there, and then when I land on them I get to pick which one I want to read. But the video has 1,526 comments. I've got my iPad out so that I can show you guys what's happening. I'm really scared. This could be anything. I'm so scared. Okay, can you sit please? We're about to do something incredibly nerve-wracking. Are we ready? I cannot read that one. It looks like it's only 1 book though. This is such a good one. This is Aurora, and the book is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So first off, a massive thank you to Aurora for this, because I was dreading The Name of the Wind or something similar coming out, and I'm absolutely not in the position to start another adult high epic fantasy series right now. That was literally my worst case scenario, but this is like the best case scenario, which is a standalone contemporary romance. So The Love Hypothesis is Ali Hazelwood. I think it's her first book, but she writes not a series, but she writes STEM romances, so they're all very similar to each other. And this one is based, the reason why I haven't read this is because I heard that it was based on Kylo Ren and Rey, which I feel like you can tell from the illustration on the cover. And I don't know, that just very much puts me off. I'm not a Star Wars fan to start off with, but I also think it's a little bit weird because I think it was actually based on the actors as opposed to the characters in Star Wars. But one of them is a PhD candidate and the other one is a young professor, and I think it's a hate to love story. I don't think they got on. I'm excited to see what I think about this. With romance, obviously it's very, with any book it's subjective, but I feel like with romance it's particularly subjective, so I could either love this or hate this, I guess. I'm excited because it's STEM, but yeah, it is 373 pages, but much smaller font than it ends with us. So for a romance, I guess it seems to be a little bit like more on the longer side. I actually picked this up when I went to the Blackwells in Edinburgh last year. Ashley did a video, or we did a video together where she picked my book haul, and eventually like I would read the books and see whether she picked books that I actually liked. It was, we went into Blackwells and she had to pick books that she thought I would enjoy, and this was one of them. So we'll see if she was right, I guess.
It was just a cute little short story. I mainly read graphic novels for the art style. I just like looking at it, as you can tell.
So I'm currently, I think about 2 hours. Yeah, I'm 2 hours deep into Patreon sprints. Again, I know I don't usually do this many sprints in a week, but it's January, so I have more time. I want to read and I'm having a grand old time. So I want to talk to you guys about the love hypothesis. I was just going to check in after sprints, as you know, like my 100-page to midway kind of check in, what it's about, what I think about it, but I am loving this. People keep mentioning to me as well that there's a scene and they want to know what I think of the scene. Obviously I'm not there yet, so I'm concerned, because I was watching Kara sprints yesterday and people were saying like that the scene ruined the book for them, and I'm having such a good time at the minute. But this is, it's reminding me a lot of The Hating Game. Okay, it's a grumpy sunshine relationship and it also has fake dating in it, and it's about this girl who is, I'm gonna mess up the terminology because I'm not from the US, so I don't understand how your like college system works. But it's a PhD student and a professor, which apparently is okay because he's not her professor, like he's not her PhD advisor. I don't really know how it all works, but essentially it starts off with her kissing him. She just like grabs him in the corridor and kisses him because her best friend has come in, and her best friend has actually hit it off with a guy that the main character Olive used to be dating, but she doesn't want to break girl code by dating this guy that she's obviously really into, and this guy is really into her. So Olive lied and told her friend that she was on a date, but she went to the lab where she's doing like her PhD project and put in like a night shift instead, and didn't expect her friend to be there, but she was. So she panicked and kissed this guy who turns out to be this big bad professor that nobody likes. So after that moment, Olive kind of just expects everything to go away, and she'll say like she went on one date with him, nothing happened, etc. But he actually would like to pursue a fake dating situation with her because his grants from the college have been frozen because they think he's a flight risk because he has no roots in the city, so they don't want to give him more money for projects that he potentially might not finish. And Olive wants to be with him long enough that her friend feels comfortable continuing this relationship with the guy that Olive used to date. So that is the setup for the fake relationship, and typically I'm not a big fan of grumpy sunshine, and the narration in here does take a little bit of getting used to because Olive is very much like, I don't want to say all over the place, but she's very much just like in your face, and it's quite a loud narration, I want to say. But something that's really interesting to me in this, and something that's reminded me a lot of The Hating Game, is that this guy has this reputation for being horrible. Like, he makes his students cry, he's moody, he's flying off the handle, he's very harsh in his criticism, so nobody likes him. But he's very nice to the main character, and it's that thing of where you assume somebody's terrible, because like Olive's narration is like, he's awful, he made this person cry, like one time he like flew off the handle and smashed a petri dish, but he's fine. Like, he's fine. He's nice. And I do think that the setup of this, because there's a prologue before Olive does her PhD, and I do think that that's very predictable that it's going to come back into play like later on. But yeah, I'm having a great time with it. So I'm exactly on page 100. I'm dying to continue. I'm just really nervous about this scene that everyone apparently hates, because I'm loving it and I don't want to hate anything about it right now. So sprints have just ended and I'm 148 pages into this, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm still obsessed and still very nervous for this scene that everybody talks about. But I'm gonna go make double mushroom pasta, and then I have a fortnight date tonight, and I organized it and I really want to play, but now I really want to read this book. So yeah, I guess I'll read as much as I can in between dinner and fortnight. But yeah, I was not worried, but I definitely thought that I was gonna read this slower than I have been reading recently. Absolutely not the case, because I want to devour this all immediately. This is feeling like, I don't want to jinx it, this feels like The Hating Game of 2023. I think I just got to the scene. Okay, real talk. Okay, I think I just got to the scene, and without saying what it is for anybody who, like, I don't know, doesn't want to hear it for one, but also hasn't read this book yet, I get why it's the scene, but also, like, realistically, I don't feel like it's that unusual. I feel like this is something that has definitely happened before, to the point where it's not like a phenomenon. It's just people don't normally write shit like that in detail in romance books, which is what makes it a little bit odd. But like, I'm not overly offended by it, you know? Okay, so I'm coming back again because Leanne wanted to know what I thought about the scene. So I told her what I thought of the scene. And now that I'm writing it out, okay, like maybe the fact that it's being treated as a rare delicacy, maybe that's a little bit odd. Not judging here. But I think the issue here that I've noticed from like having a debate with Leanne about this is whether you take it literally or not. When I read the word clean, I'm not taking that literally. I'm taking that as like, you did a good job, boy. Okay? So like, things are happening, but it's not like a Henry the Hoover kind of situation, you know, where I feel like a lot of people, Leanne included, are reading it as Henry the Hoover, whereas I'm reading it as like an exaggeration of what's going on. So yeah, if you want to know the deal, if you want to know whether Dr. Carlson is Henry the Hoover or a very good boy, then read The Love Hypothesis and let me know down in the comments, I guess. I want to cry. I want to fucking cry. The chokehold that this book has on me is unreal. So first off, apologies for our lack of diversity in filming locations today. I have been I stayed up until 2 a.m. reading this book. I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish it though, so I eventually put it down and it's all I could think about all day. So I've been alternating between editing and reading chapters of this until I got to where I had like 30 pages left and I just had to like bang through the entire end of it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's my first 5 stars of the year, 100% The Hating Game of 2023. And I do think that there are a lot of parallels between The Hating Game and The Love Hypothesis. So if, like me, you are a Hating Game girly, would definitely recommend picking this one up. The narration style of Lucy and Olive I found to be quite similar. I also find the characters in personality of Adam and Josh to be quite similar. And then also the kind of, I guess the character arc of the love interest reminded me a lot of The Hating Game. And then we also have, it's not quite an enemies to lovers in here, I would say, but it is like a character that everyone hates, like a big bad scary scientist. The trope of a love interest, like I've said, who seems scary, that everybody hates, but is actually like great, like is perfection. And then weirdly a main character that can't see like 1 inch in front of her face. That combination just really does it for me. I will say that I wanted a little bit more from the end of this one. I feel like considering how much dialogue we had throughout the rest of this book, including in some of the sexy scenes, I wanted more conversation, like deep, meaningful conversation right at the end of this book, where I feel like it kind of ended a little bit abruptly. And you know what? That one of the worst things about this book, one of the hardest things about this book was trying to keep Adam Driver out of my brain. Like, it was a constant struggle. But let me tell you, Dr. Adam Carlson, he's a beast in the sheets. It's always the quiet ones, guys. It is always the quiet ones. Big thank you to Aurora, because I absolutely, like, this was not even anywhere close to a priority TBR for me. And it is my 4th book of the year, and I feel like this is going to be on my favorites list. It's my Hating Game of 2023. Hoping for a little bit more fantasy, though. I want more 5-star fantasy from 2023. But I'm not going to turn my nose up at a 5-star romance. Instant favorite. And I'm worried because I've been doing real well. It's like a week into the year, pretty much 8 days into the year. I've read 4 books, but now I'm really concerned about a book hangover. Big thank you to Ashley as well, actually, for selecting this for that video that we made, because I was really put off by this because of the Adam Driver of it all. And because the thing is as well, I'm having Adam Driver intrusive thoughts where like I'm reading this and I'm trying so hard not to think about him that I'm thinking about him. But it's not just Adam Driver, it's the meme of him crying in whatever movie he did where he does that big, isn't it like a big monologue or something and he's crying? It's that Adam Driver that's in my head. Now I really want the Illumicrate edition. This is why I hate special edition culture, because I didn't get the Love Hypothesis add-on to my Afterlight box, which was the sensible decision, because because I hadn't read the book, didn't know if I was going to like it. I didn't think I was going to like it. And now it's the one instance where I decided not to get something and it turns out that I need it. So I'm going to have to buy it on eBay. And I'm not going to tell you guys how much I'm going to end up paying for it on eBay either, because it's something that we're just not going to think about. That's between me and my bank account, and both of us pretend we do not see. With that being said, it's time to select our next prompt. And this one is going to be interesting because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this vlog follows the rules of a Bookopoly TBR, and per the rules of a Bookopoly TBR, something that I keep forgetting every time I do the actual roll, my patrons have to vote on one of my Bookopoly rolls every time I do a TBR, and it would have been really advantageous if I'd have done maybe one of the first two where we landed on fantasy and what was the other one? Fantasy or sequel. Both would have been perfect prompts to put to a vote, and then obviously we got to a point where 30 before 30, not ideal but doable, and then viewer recommendation, unless I'd have generated 4 prompts, wasn't really a thing. So now whatever we land on next has to go to a vote. I'm a little bit nervous obviously because I have no idea what that is, but let's go find out and then I will select my 4 options. Okay, apologies once again for terrible lighting. Sit down, good girl. So our last prompt was obviously viewer recommends. This is potentially going to be, Brie, can you move your head out of the way please, sugar? This is going to be potentially our final roll. Don't want to jinx it, but we're doing real well. So what will hopefully be our final roll of this vlog is a 6, which is science fiction. So I have my 4 options and I finally done the sensible thing and put a book that is on my January TBR in for the poll. This one is a dystopian horror that is my Patreon pick for January. It's Deb's pick, so I thought I might as well put that in there. The option that I've kind of chose for myself, I have tons of sci-fi that I want to read. I really want to read Stormblood by Jeremy Saul, but I don't feel like I'm in a position to start a series like that right now because I know it'll be ages before I continue. So the one that I've chosen for myself, kind of just because I want to read it, is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This and its sequel I think it's just a duology about a monk and a robot, and they're both novellas. It's also these two are the only 2 books that I haven't read by Becky Chambers, so I thought I may as well take the opportunity. Nice and short as well because I am going to London in 2 days. It doesn't matter if I don't wrap up this vlog before then, but it might be nice if I could. And then we have The Ark of Gleanings, which was sent to me by Books, so thank you very much to Books for that. This is a selection of short stories that is set in the world of the Scythe series, which is one of my favorite series ever, but it has been a while since I've read the series, so I don't know if I'm going to struggle through this. I feel like it's been a long time since The Toll was released, so I feel like this is a lot of people are going to have the same issue that I would have with this. And then the last one is the second novella in Skyward Flight, just so that I can continue and read Cytonic. Oh, that's where that bookmark went. I believe that the reading order is book 1, 2, the first 2 novellas in Skyward Flight, book 3, and then the last novella. So the one that I'm up to is Read On, which is this thick, and that translates to 210 pages. So I'm gonna leave this until tomorrow. I do have other things that I've been dipping in and out of that I can continue on with if I want to get some reading done tonight, but I think that I should actually spend the evening after I've worked out and stuff wrapping up some YouTube stuff before I go away. And also I guess I could start packing. So look at this, look how big she's got. She's so gorgeous. So yeah, I guess I'll check in with the poll in the morning and we'll see which of these 4 I'm going to be reading. Predictions wise, I think that one of these 2 are going to be the winner. This one because it's Sanderson, this one because people know it's on my TBR, whereas I feel like these 2 may actually be the faster reads out of all 4. Hello! So I've just finished filming my December unboxings and I really desperately need to go and start editing that because I'm hoping to get it up today by 6 and it is currently 2:30, and I just remembered that I need to go to Superdrug before it closes to get a new razor and also some sugar scrub so that I can shave my legs tonight, which you didn't need to know, but there you go. But before I tidy up and move over to my desk, I thought we should probably find out what book I'm going to be reading next. I did briefly glance last night and it was pretty even and I haven't looked since, so let's find out. Okay, so the winner of the poll has not changed, but everything is very close. The winner has 29% and then the 2 runners up have 26 and 25%, and then Read On by Brandon Sanderson has 19, which is surprising because I actually kind of thought that would win. But the book that I'm going to be picking up next is Feed by by Mira Grant, which is good because this is one that's actually on my TBR. And this also means that you guys are going to be coming to London with me this week because I'm not finishing this tonight. Oh my god, how did I not realize that this is a really nice floppy paperback? So this was actually a gift from Kristen, so thank you very much to Kristen for that. And this was Deb's Patreon pick. So all I know about this is that it is a dystopian zombie apocalypse story set in a world where we've cured everything. So we've cured like cancer and the common cold, but in creating these cures we've created a new virus, which is the zombie virus. And this is the first book in the Newsflash series, and it is told by I think 2 bloggers. So I'm excited. I've heard good things about this, and I'm really excited to try out Mira Grant because I don't like the Every Heart a Doorway series, but the books that she writes as Mira Grant seem to be a little bit grittier, like this and also like Into the Drowning Deep. So I feel like I'll enjoy them a little bit more. I feel like the series was also recommended to me when I was reading I Am Legend, and I discovered that I liked really like science and logic based sci-fi. So yeah, I'll get started on this one tonight, hopefully, if I have time. If not, it's no bother because my trains to and from London are like 3.5 hours each way, so I'm sure I'll get some reading in there.
But also, on my way home, I went to Barnes & Noble, so. Have you seen anything ever as beautiful as a Barnes & Noble?
Florida, spend the night with me. You here. I know that you know I'm not there. Those are my colors, I'm sorry for showing. Now you've got a headache, I'm sorry for going on and 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 on again. I'm sorry for going on and on.
So this arrangement that I have you guys on right now is a little bit precarious. I'm gonna have to multitask because I do need to update you guys on feed, but I also need to leave the hotel in about 10 minutes because we have a breakfast reservation. It's 9:20 and we have a breakfast reservation at 10:15. So I'm currently also in the queue for War Child tickets for the 1975, and I'm not gonna get them. I know that I'm not. Like I said, it's 16 minutes past 9 actually. And they went on sale at 9. There's only 600 tickets for the entire venue, and this is just the pre-sale, so I'm not feeling hopeful. I have read a ton of feed by Mira Grant. I read most of it on the train here. I'm 190 pages in now, and you know what, I have to say, I was gonna say I'm enjoying this and I'm not, which is true, but it's definitely having an effect on me. I can't go to sleep without reading like one chapter, so I read one chapter before I went to sleep last night. I didn't have the best sleep because I was really warm. It obviously influenced my dreams because I had a zombie dream, specifically with the type of zombies that are in this book. But this is interesting because it's an adult book as far as I'm aware, and there's nothing in it right now where I would say definitively 100% this could only be adult. But I don't really know the ages of our main characters. They're only 3 weeks apart in age and they're adopted siblings, but they are, I would say, 18 at probably the oldest, and it's set 25 years after the zombie apocalypse, and they were definitely born after the zombie apocalypse. But eco-terrorists released a cure for the common cold because they thought that the inventor of it was going to withhold it for like the elite, so they released it into the air and it interacted with people who were trialing a cure for cancer, and the combination of the 2 vaccines created this virus called Kellisamboli, which is the zombie virus that like reanimates you when you die. So it's kind of like The Walking Dead in that everybody has it, and if you die with it in your system, so anybody after the zombie apocalypse, you will rise again. And then also like The Walking Dead, like the longer you've been a zombie, the more chances are that you're going to disintegrate. So our main characters are actually two bloggers, and this, like, the whole narrative of this is that after the zombie apocalypse, nobody trusted reporters because the reporters did what the government does, which is creates mass hysteria where they want it and also like covers up things that they want. So they were trying to cover up the zombie apocalypse and weren't telling people the truth, which caused people to then rely on bloggers because bloggers were obviously giving the actual true information of what was going on. So now 20 years on from this event, bloggers are more important, but they're still not necessarily seen as legit. So this story is about two bloggers that have been invited onto a presidential campaign, which is a really big deal because, like I said, blogging isn't exactly legitimate, and this guy who's like running for president is one of those like up and coming down with the kids kind of guys. So their job is to follow him along the presidential campaign and report on what's going on. Now 200 pages into this almost 600 page book, I don't really know what the actual wider plot of this book is going to be. I assume that something is going to go horribly wrong in this campaign, but right now I have absolutely no idea what it's going to be. It definitely seems like somebody's sabotaging the campaign, and I'm guessing, I don't know, I just feel like this has to go into some sort of like wider world situation. I don't know. I don't know what the scope of this book is necessarily going to be, I feel. But what I will say is that something that is keeping me on edge about it, that while civilization still exists within this apocalypse, oh, it's not an apocalypse, I guess, it's just a zombie outbreak, they have like really intense security to make sure that infected people aren't coming into like populated areas. So it will narrate in the book every time they have to do a blood test for the zombie virus, and that's really keeping me on edge. And I feel like because of how much it's mentioned throughout the narrative, that at some point somebody's going to test positive and it's going to be like one of the main characters, because we are only really reading from the perspective of the female sibling, George, at the minute, although we do have the two other people in her team, which is her brother Sean and also a girl called Buffy. There is a Buffy reference in here because she's chosen her own name based on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I am enjoying it. Like, I'm finding it compelling, but at the same time I'm not sure that I love the writing style because it's very info dumpy. Like, it's very telling and not showing every little minute detail about this world, like how the virus spread, which fair enough is interesting, but also like little quirks of technology and how presidential campaigns run now, to the point where it does seem like kind of a speculative how would humanity go on in the face of a zombie outbreak. So I don't anticipate reading very much today. I'm actually going to go get breakfast. We're going to Timmy Green's, which is where we went last March, like one of the places we went for breakfast last March, and they do an amazing... I've just got through the queue on War Child. I don't anticipate there being anything left. Yeah, there's no tickets available. God damn. Guess I'll try again tomorrow. But they do a killer, like, French toast and also a really good banana bread. So I think I'm gonna get the banana bread this time because I got French toast last time. And then we're meeting Beth and Nathaniel at Victoria Station, and it's the 1975 gig tonight. It is my first of 3 shows that we're going to be going to, and I feel like this one is the one that I'm most excited for because I've never been to a gig in London before. Possibly Manchester as well, because I always go in Manchester and it's their hometown, it's my hometown, so it's always a good time. So yeah, I have to leave in about 7 minutes, so I'm gonna cut this off here, but I will check in with you guys a little bit later on, maybe only verbally when I actually get home, but obviously like we're gonna keep the cameras rolling.
Someday we might, when I'm closer to your heights, and then we'll walk around and see.
I wake up screaming and dreaming. One day I'll watch as you leave, 'cause we got tired the exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero. Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill.
When's your next one? Next week?
Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah. Friday.
Taylor fucking Swift. Taylor fucking Swift. That is all, because it's very late and I'm very cold. So I still, as of yet, have not recovered from Taylor Swift on Thursday night. I don't think it's an experience that I ever will recover from. I manifested it as well, which is wild, because the day before, I think it was Ryan and Curtis, I said, oh, can you imagine if Taylor Swift came out? Joking, because it's something that she's done before, like she did it for Haim. But Haim have recorded on her album and she's recorded on Haim's album, so that kind of makes sense. I didn't know that she was overly aware of Matty Healy and the 1975. So we kind of brushed it off as a joke. And then the day of the gig, I went into FOP and I actually picked up the Jade Green vinyl for Midnights, because I wanted that when I pre-ordered the, I think I ended up with Mahogany because Jade was out of stock, so I saw the Jade one in store and bought that. And then we went into the astrology shop and they were playing like an old school Taylor song off Fearless, and then she performed at a show for my favorite band, playing my favorite song off Midnights for the first time ever live, and I cried. I'm not even ashamed to say that I cried. Like, Jesus Christ, that made my life. Don't know if I've recovered from that yet, but I need to put this back on because I'm about to start filming. It's just my fringe is awkward because it needs trimming, but I'm getting it trimmed on Wednesday and it's currently Saturday. While I don't think I've recovered from that, I am home and I have a little bit of a book haul for you guys, because I went to Forbidden Planet and I bought 3 books for £8.07, which was including the cost of the carrier bag. I wanted to update you guys while I was there, but yesterday morning was just, I felt like I was hungover. Everything hurt and I could only communicate in really high-pitched squeaks. So the first one that I picked up was Song of the Forever Rains by EJ Mello. This one was on sale from $9.99 to $5.99, and this one is a fantasy romance. The author is actually at Rare London, which I am attending in July, which is one of the reasons, or the main reason, why I wanted a physical copy of this, because it is on Kindle Unlimited. And this one is a fantasy romance. I don't know if it's young adult or adult, because Goodreads has it shelved a little bit as young adult, but Goodreads always lies and shelves everything as young adult, so it's impossible to tell in a lot of cases. But this one is about a girl who is one of the Mosai, who are 3 sorceresses that are in service to the Thief Kingdom, and the one that we're following in this book, her voice when she sings has the power to slay monsters. And when it is discovered that a Duke of the Realm is like selling a drug on the black market, I think, she's given her first solo mission to stop him, and I think she ends up falling in love with the guy's heir. So I'm really excited about this one. The only thing that worries me a little bit is that I don't know if it is young adult, but I definitely, like, this is one of the ones from the list of rare authors that I really want to get to the most, and I am doing in February, so very soon actually, I will be doing a video which is all of the authors that are attending Rare whose books I want to read. I have actually already started a little bit of background reading, because I'm currently reading Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller, who is also going to be at Rare. After that, I went to the Damage section because Beth got a whole ton of stuff from there, so I was like, you know what, let's go check this out. And I picked up The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. This is apparently damaged and it was 99 pence, but I cannot for the life of me find, oh, is that it? Is that it? I think that like groove in the bottom of the pages, I think that's it. So yeah, this was 99 pence instead of $9.99 because of that, guys. Go to Forbidden Planet and check out the Damages section. There was so much good stuff there. But this one is an adult high fantasy that I've heard very good things about, but I think it's in my Inner Circle Patreon pot as well, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to pick it up. But this one is about a girl who was raised by a death cult steeped in old magic. On her 14th birthday, she's destined to climb a mountain to sacrifice herself at the Unspoken One's shrine. Oh, she's offered a new fate to leave with him him and Liv turn away from her destiny and her god to become his thief, spy, and assassin. Together they could topple an empire and help him re-establish control. Sounds good to me. I'm 10 times more hyped than I was originally for this now. Not that I wasn't hyped, it's just I haven't heard too many people talk about it. And then the last one I got, granted, it is actually damaged, but I wasn't going to buy a physical copy of this because I wasn't that invested, but this was 99p. So I picked up Dawnshard by Brandon Sanderson, which has a tear in the dust jacket. Very minor. I mean, the amount of my own dust jackets that I've torn, it was a bargain. So this one is it the second novella in the Stormlight archive? I have already read it. I don't love the Stormlight novellas. I don't love a novella is the problem. So even though they're Stormlight, still don't love them. I read it. I can't remember specifically what it was about, but I do intend on rereading the Stormlight archive before I move on to Rhythm of War. So yeah, I'll give this one another read. I think I have the ebook of this actually, but I have a physical now as well. So in terms of feed, I was kind of hoping that I would read more on the way back, but I truly felt hungover and I just could not do it. It's over. I thought I went and got that book. Why is it still there? So I am almost halfway. I'm 268 pages into this and like I am enjoying it. I just don't understand the point. It's not a character driven story and the characters are actually, I said that they were like 18. I think they're about 24 or like 22 to 25 I want to say, but they don't read like it. They read like kids, but also like there's I guess like a noir detective kind of vibe to this that I'm not really feeling. I guess the book reads like a newspaper article in that there's not really like any emotion on the part of the main characters. They kind of view things because they are reporters with like this cold clinical detachment, which is meaning that I actually don't really care about the characters in here, which makes it a plot driven book, which is fine because in terms of plot or like in terms of writing or pace or whatever, it is compelling. It's easy to read and it's a page turner, not in that I'm desperate to find out what happens, but it's just compulsively readable for some reason and I can't tell you why because I don't like the characters all that much. The writing is fine, but it's not like an addictive writing style. The plot, my issue with the plot is that I just don't know where it's going because we're following this presidential campaign and I feel like the central plot is focused on the fact that like people are sabotaging this campaign. They don't want this guy to become the next president of the United States and I kind of understand why, not because he's done anything wrong, just because he's very like he's a reasonable guy, you know, like he seems fine. So obviously people are going to think that he doesn't have like strong enough stances. So I understand why people would want to sabotage his campaign. I guess what I don't understand is why this is set in the zombie apocalypse. Like, is it just an interesting backdrop for this presidential campaign plot? Or is there a point to it being set in a zombie apocalypse? I feel like I have a bit of a dodgy feeling about the guy who's actually running for president, just because he kind of seems too good to be true, but there is a level of mistrust that runs through this in me, which is keeping things interesting. Like I said, we have the tension of the fact that every time their blood is checked, like it goes into the fact that their blood is checked. So I'm expecting this to happen so many times, which it already has, that it seems kind of commonplace and you don't expect anything of it. And then like it turns out that somebody actually tests positive for this virus. Or I'm expecting the president to kind of not be good, but there's no reason for me to believe that, only that I feel like he's too good to be true. So yeah, kind of mixed feelings about it at this point, because as well I'm 270 pages into this. The end isn't even in sight. This is like 570 pages long. I have 300 pages of this left and I don't know what the plot is. So I mean, I'm obviously going to continue. I'm having a good enough time. I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say I don't like it, but I wouldn't say I like it. But there's no question in my mind that I'm going to continue reading. Like, it's not even close to a DNF. Take from that what you will at this point. I'm desperate to read the synopsis of book 2. Because I want to know the point, and I know obviously the synopsis for book 2 will give me some kind of like hint about the direction of the series, but obviously like I don't want to spoil myself. So that's where I'm up to with my currently reading. I'm about to film 2 videos and it is 2:20 and I'm only just starting and I need to film them because I have absolutely nothing prepared for tomorrow. But we're going with my 2023 TBR, which is the one, it's going up like a week on Sunday, but I'm filming it first for some reason. And then I have to do the one that I'm dreading, which is my series wrap up for 2022. Did I just say my 2022 TBR? It's my 2023 TBR and my wrap up of series that I read in 2022. But procrastinating, as I've already discovered all day, is not getting me anywhere, so I'm actually going to get something done. So this vlog is going up at 6 p.m. today. It's currently 11 a.m. I've got 7 hours. I've currently edited 48 minutes of it and I still have 1 hour of footage to go through and a clip to film, obviously, to wrap up this vlog. And that is the sound of men laying gas pipes outside of my house. They actually gave us no warning about this. The van turned up yesterday. I thought they were just parked there. And then about an hour later, a guy came and said, can I look at your gas meter? And apparently they're going to be here a while. And when he said a while, he said that I'll be seeing a lot of him. So I think they mean days, if not weeks. And my office is on the front of the house on street level. Yeah, we're going to take it up to the spare bedroom, which is about as far away as I can get away from this noise, to give you my final thoughts on feed. Here we are in the spare room, which is looking a little bit like a jumble sale right now because we're in the process of tearing apart our bedroom. I say in the process of, it's very early days. We've stripped like one wall and dismantled one wardrobe. I do intend on vlogging the process, but we're not at a stage where there's like any point doing it yet because we're gonna like ramp up the progression probably like end of this month, next month. But that means that there's just tons of like Curtis's shirts and stuff hanging on clothes horses in here, and it's a very small room, so that's taking up the majority of the space. Also, just watch back the last clip to see how bad the noise was and noticed that I said edit instead of edited. I've edited 48 minutes of this vlog so far. But real talk for just a sec, because I can't be bothered going into it, but I have been absent the last couple of days, as you may have noticed from the things that come up at the bottom. I have really bad PMS, guys, and I know that sounds really dramatic, but as we all know, I have a couple of issues with anxiety. And what I've noticed, it's hard to say how long it's been happening because I've had an awareness of it for about 6 months, but I have really, really bad anxiety when I have PMS to the point where I can very quickly get out of control. So essentially, since we got back from London, I've been really, really struggling and just feeling incredibly anxious about things that don't matter. So I'll give you a couple of examples, but essentially now that the more aware I become of it, the more I can not control it, but I'm aware of why it's happening to me. So it's less of a, oh my God, why is this happening? But I've done 2 workouts in the last 2 days that is so below my normal performance level that it's like I've never worked out before. I did a beginner core workout yesterday. It was truly not hard and I struggled. I'm struggling to spin with like no resistance on my legs. Like I just cannot. And then in terms of anxiety, so I think on Saturday night I cried because Curtis has a cold. I have health anxiety, but I mean a cold's not that much of a problem. I'm not that bothered. On Sunday night I cried because I couldn't remember, like I was getting really, really panicky because I didn't know if I'd seen Taylor Swift. Like I knew that I'd seen her, but because I've seen videos of the performance so many times, I started to remember the performance more than I remember the actual being there, because obviously I've seen the videos more times than I saw her physically in front of me. So I was panicking that I didn't appreciate being there enough. Last night I was on the verge of tears because we were playing Talisman. We were learning to play Talisman. It was Curtis's birthday yesterday, so I have been doing some birthday stuff with him as well. But I cried last night because I was too cold to continue playing Talisman, and I was really upset about it because I felt like I was being a baby, which I mean the crying about it was the baby part, but whatever. It's really, really cold as well. It's gone freezing, like literally freezing, which I'm worried about because I am going. I need to drive to Manchester and back on Friday. So that's why there hasn't been the most content, and I'm not apologizing because like if I need a moment, I need a moment, you know. But I just thought I would tell you guys because there is something that I only discovered a couple of months ago. There is something called PMD, which I think is premenstrual disorder, which is where you have above normal PMS symptoms, like stronger than normal. So now that I'm becoming more aware of the symptoms, they're not as bad as they were like 6 months ago, but 6 months ago I was doing things like relying on really bad anxiety coping mechanisms in a really like compulsive, obsessive way that I could not get out of. So I spoke about it, I think at the time, I think it was October the last time, but where I rely on an anxiety coping mechanism that I know is bad for me, and the fact that I know that it's bad for me makes me more anxious about it, but I can't stop doing it. And it's like a cycle of heightened anxiety. So like it does get really, really bad, and it's not an enjoyable time at all. Like I literally am out of control, which is why I do need to go to the doctors and see if they can balance my hormones in some sort of way. So yeah, I'm going to explore some options about that, I think, because I hate it. Like the way that I am out of control is actually quite scary and I really don't like it. But back to why we're here today. Feed by Mira Grant. I finished it this morning and I enjoyed it, but I think it's only a 3-star read for me. 3 stars is what I gave it. It did have a couple of plot twists that shocked me, but the issue that I had is that I'm not attached to the characters in here at all. all. It's definitely a plot driven story. It went in directions that I fully didn't expect it to, and that is what shocked me about it, just because the characters felt really forced. Like, this is set in a dystopian world, but the plot itself is more like a thriller or a mystery or even like a crime. It has like an espionage kind of feel to it, where we're following these gritty journalists that are trying to unravel like a political conspiracy, which in terms of plotline is not something I'm particularly interested in, and the characters just didn't feel realistic to me. They felt like noir characters. Like, you know, when you watch a show that has a little bit of a noir skit in it, it felt like that to me. So the thing is though, I didn't dislike it because I had a decent time with it. It was interesting, but I feel like I need attachment to the characters to really care about it. Like, it was a good book. I didn't want to DNF it at any point, but now that I finished it, I'm just like, yeah, it was a book. I don't really know how I feel about it because I didn't dislike it necessarily, but I definitely didn't like it either. There is a chance that I will continue and read the sequel to this. I do think I have heard, I think Deb has said, and Mel from Mel Lenore Reads has said, because Deb told her, that the second book is a little bit better or a little bit stronger than the first book is. And I did go ahead, because you guys know I was desperate to read the synopsis to find out where the story is going, and I know now, not necessarily a way that I'm excited for it to go, but I'm not really surprised that it's going that way. But like, I enjoyed it to an extent. It does have a little bit too much exposition for me, kind of how like the Scholarmance series does, where like this world is extremely detailed and Mira Grant is just desperate at every opportunity to tell you the details of this world that she's thought up. It's a really weird review because I really just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I liked it or disliked it. I just really can't decide. But that is our 5th book for this vlog done. So talking about this vlog experience as a whole, I personally really enjoyed doing it. I really liked the spontaneity of it, because while I do want to mood read, I really struggle to mood read without any direction. So I think the 24-hour readathon I was doing with Aaron at the beginning of this, and also the Bookopoly prompts, really helps me out. Please do let me know down in the comments whether you enjoyed the process of this vlog, like as a vlog instead of a TBR, because like I said at the beginning, I don't have any plans for what I'm doing for the rest of the year in any regard, and that is kind of intentional. But I really enjoyed this, so I do foresee this being something that I potentially do in the future in a low-key way where I don't commit to it, because if I commit to it, I'll have anxiety and I won't want to do it anymore. So in total, we read 5 books for this vlog. I don't know where the last week has gone. I know I was in London for 3 days, but like, I don't know how it took me so long to read this, because when I was actually reading it, like, I felt like I was reading a decent amount. But our first prompt was fantasy, and for that I read Children of the Whales volume 9 by Abby Umeda. The second prompt was sci-fi. We read The Galaxy and the Grown Within by Becky Chambers. Third one was 30 Before 30, so I went with It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. And the fourth one was a viewer recommendation. Thank you so much, Aurora, for this, because I loved it. Favorite book of the year so far, first 5-star of 2023, and that was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. And our final book my patrons voted on, the prompt was science fiction, and we read Feed by Mira Grant. So yeah, I had an excellent time with this vlog. Let me know if you enjoyed watching it. This could be, based on the fact that I have nearly 50 minutes edited and an hour of footage plus this 10 minutes to go through, this could be my longest vlog ever. So let me know if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see what we can do about the future. Next week, I'm gonna see, in next week's vlog, I have a couple more adventures that I'm gonna be going on, and it's just gonna be like a standard weekly reading vlog, with my only goal really being to make it through as much of my TBR as possible, because apart from Feed, nothing I read in this vlog was on my January TBR, so I really do need to get a jump on that. But I do hope you guys have enjoyed this vlog if you made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're ready to go, and nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.